Hello there, Silverpaw here, and I'm reading Chapter 12 of those 3 words of fanfiction containing yaoi or male love, gay lovers between Sonic and Tails, so be warned. I don't know why I'm just adding it here in the 12th chapter, but I just wanted to say it was really funny. In the last chapter, the author notes had a preface saying, "I have so many ideas, I'd never quit this story." Might I remind you that this story actually I don't think is finished. Now I'm hoping with this little series here, and the author can see all the views her story is getting and maybe finish it, because I don't think it's still finished. So sorry for the delay, let's get on to chapter 12. Mom, this is Marine, Tails said, wincing as he introduced his girlfriend to his mother. Marine was grinning like the idiot Tails saw her as she grabbed Tails' mother's hand and shook it enthusiastically. The unnecessary action took her by surprise, and Tails had to force himself not to groan in humiliation. If Sonic was here now... Tails stopped gritting his teeth together as Marine chirped a hearty "G'day" to his mother. He didn't even bother finishing the thought. Once Sonic was in his mind, he wouldn't leave. Tails was surprised that Sonic had even left his thoughts long enough for him to come back. Marine, Tails growled, trying extremely hard not to lose his temper. Why don't we go upstairs so I can show you my room? He added quickly, glancing across at his mother in case she took it the wrong way. He could see that her smile was strained slightly. Marine had an odd talent of making people take deep breaths and force smiles onto their faces. Once they were upstairs, Marine immediately started rummaging through Tails' belongings, picking various things and commenting on them. As excited babble of questions streamed from her mouth. What's this? Where'd you get this from? Can I have this? Tails didn't even listen to her. He crawled onto his bed and sat with his back against a wall, leaning his head against it. He suddenly noticed a pain throbbing in his head, and closed his eyes to soothe it a little. Marine's never-ending chatter and inability to stand still didn't help either. The only problem with closing his eyes was that as soon as he did, the image of Sonic filled his blank vision, forcing him to focus on all of his thoughts on Sonic, and nothing else. That gave him an even more painful headache, and yet he was compelled to keep his eyes tightly shut. He knew that he'd been avoiding Sonic lately, and Sonic had been noticing. He was concerned about the fox, but thought it best to leave him alone, seeing as Sonic wasn't very good at helping people, with their emotions anyways. It didn't stop him from worrying about Tails, though. Tails clenched his hands in the fists at the pain of his current thoughts. He needed to tell Sonic it wasn't fair to push him away and suffer on his own when they were supposed to be in it together, but he was scared of how Sonic would react, knowing that Tails wanted more from their already sinful relationship. Tails kept his eyes shut as he imagined Sonic's response. If he felt the same way and agreed to go further, that thought scared Tails more than it excited him. There were so many things to think about. What kind of impact would it have on the two of them? Could be exactly what Tails wanted. It could make them closer and improve their relationship, but what if it didn't? What if it made them distant, causing them pain, physical and emotional? Somehow, the bad points seemed to overshadow the good ones. Then, again, that was exactly what Tails had thought about telling Sonic how he felt in the first place. He had risked everything by telling him he was gay. Sonic could have been exactly the same as everyone else and felt disgusted about him. But he didn't, Tails thought to himself, and he had known that he didn't deep down. That's why he told him, so maybe deep down he knew that Sonic would feel the same way, and it would be all good things rather than the bad ones. I guess that means I should tell him, Tails decided silently, opening his eyes. The fox shrieked, jerking backwards and banging his head on the wall hard. Marine had stood barely an inch from his face, and by the way she had positioned her head, shaped her mouth, she was unmistakably going to kiss Tails while he had his eyes shut. Even the thought of that made Tails shudder. He clutched at his head, which had resumed its earlier throbbing, and glanced at Marine. The raccoon blushed heavily, looking sheepishly, and scurried away from Tails and stood next to the door. Tails continued to stare at her in disbelief. Marine? I'm sorry, mate. I think I'll go now. Breathing heavily, Tails nodded, remaining on the bed as she saw herself out. His reaction had hurt her. He could tell, but he honestly didn't care. He leaned back against the wall, wondering if Sonic was in his own bedroom, just the other side of the brick. A fierce buzzing started Tails. He snatched his phone up immediately. Hello? Tails? The Tails felt a warmth fill his stomach, almost like a feeling of relief. Even hearing Sonic's voice made him feel safe, which was a comfort to him. Hey, Sonic. Tails smiled, lifting his hand and resting it against the wall. He imagined Sonic doing the same on the other side. Is Marine still there? Sonic asked, his voice edged with a snigger. Tails pulled a face automatically. She just left, he replied. She tried to kiss me. Sonic snorted with laughter on the other end of the phone, causing a small smile to creep onto Tails' face. Sonic, don't. I feel kind of sorry for her, actually. Why? You don't like her, do you? What? No, of course not. She's annoying and she never stops talking. And besides... Tails paused for a moment, glancing over his shoulder quickly. I only like you, he murmured. Sonic smiled. Sonic, Tails continued, do you think you would come over here? I want to see you. Sure, I'll be right over. Sonic hung up, his brow furrowing at the odd tone of Tails' voice. He'd been a lot quieter and more distant recently, and it concerned Sonic. Obviously, whatever it was that was bothering Tails, he was going to have to tell the Hedgehog what it was now. Tails swallowed, clutching his hands together nervously. Sonic gave him a reassuring look. The two of them were sitting on Tails' bedroom floor against his bed. Outside, it was just beginning to turn dark, and Sonic would have to leave soon. When he had arrived, they had talked about nothing, then laughed at the fact that everything they had talked about was pointless nothingness. However, the whole time, Sonic could tell that Tails wasn't really paying attention to what was being said by Sonic or even by himself, and he knew that he would have to ask Tails what was wrong at some time. Tails, he had said gently, laying a hand on the fox's, what's wrong? Now Tails was still arguing with himself in his head, debating whether or not it was a good idea to tell Sonic what he wanted. He felt the hedgehog stroke his hand softly, the reassuring look remaining strongly in his deep green eyes. The fox sighed, his shoulders slumping. He started, screwing his face up in distress as he tried to order the words in his head before they spilled out of his mouth. I want us to... He saw the flicker in Sonic's eyes, and he stopped abruptly. He didn't need to say anything more. Tails drew his hand out from Sonic's, turning his head away as quickly as a blush burned his cheeks. I'm sorry, Sonic. Sonic snatched the fox's hands back into his own, forcing Tails to stare directly into his eyes. Their gaze held for a minute or two before Sonic said simply, I want to as well. They leaned in towards each other and shared a single intense kiss until the scorching light of the moon sliced through the room and told Sonic it was time to leave.